This is Story Recapped. Today I'm going to explain a sci-fi film called 3022. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care.
2190, 4 American astronauts say goodbye to their friends and family before setting off for a 10-year term to oversee Pangaea. The two-station ship serves as a fueling dock between Earth and man's first off-world colony, Europa 1. A close friendship forms between the crew during the first few years on board the ship, while a relationship blossoms between Captain John Lane and engineer Jackie Miller. 5 years later, their prolonged isolation takes a toll on their camaraderie and mental health. After John aggressively grabs Jackie in his sleep, he sees the crew's medical specialist, Richard Vallon. Richard diagnoses John with violent night terrors, but John dismisses them as dreams. The rest of the crew is suffering mentally, so Richard intends to have them removed from Pangaea for their own good, despite John's protest. Meanwhile, Jackie tries to contact her daughter, Jenny, but the system can't locate her. During their routine updates, the youngest crew member, Lisa Brown, reports that no one from Earth has returned their calls. John doesn't think much of this and hands them Richard's psychiatric analysis on them. Jackie is upset that this might end their careers. Jackie later blames John for wasting all of her sacrifices during their mission, especially the time away from her daughter. After Lisa asks John if he could have done something as their captain, John contemplates in his quarters. Suddenly, massive blasts rock the station. As the crew rushes to their stations, Richard sees a bright flashing light out in space. John sends Lisa to check on Richard when he doesn't respond. John then tries to open the bay doors to see what's causing the damage. As soon as the doors open, John is engulfed by a blinding white light. Sometime later, John wakes up and finds Jackie sitting in the lounge looking dazed. He asks what happened, but she can't give him a straight answer. Lisa is unconscious at the medical station with a head wound, and Richard is in shock, unable to attend to her. Frustrated, John orders Richard to return to duty. John later shares with Jackie about the wave of light he saw. Jackie doesn't think it caused what happened, but John doesn't rule it out. Before leaving, John finally checks if Jackie is okay. She dismissively tells him that she's fine. While John and Jackie send out distress messages, they hear crackling on the intercom. They think it's Richard, so Jackie heads to him. When John joins her later, he sees Jackie staring out the window in stunned silence. Pangaea's system reports that it's found Earth, but it picks up the image of an asteroid field where the Earth should be. John realizes that Earth has been destroyed. While John and Jackie discuss their situation, Richard finally speaks and excuses that he'd been in a state of shock. John demands that Richard act professionally before barking orders at his crew. Richard later shares his theory that the people on Earth didn't see the event coming because Pangaea never received a distress call. Jackie then informs John that one of the station's batteries has been damaged, thus limiting their functionality. John decides to prioritize contacting Earth, but Richard laughs at him because he's sure that Earth is gone. Jackie catches her hand trembling and hides it. After giving out orders, John asks Richard what he saw. Richard hesitates. Lisa eventually regains consciousness, and they all gather by her bedside. Before Richard could operate to relieve pressure on her brain, Lisa starts hemorrhaging. She panics, so John and Jackie scramble to assist her. Richard quickly administers an emergency drug to save her, but it's too late. Lisa goes into shock and dies. The rest of the crew are left devastated. Later, Jackie reports that they'll run out of life support and power soon. She plans for them to leave Station 2 so they can continue to run Pangaea on Station 1. Richard is frustrated that John and Jackie can't accept that Earth is gone. Despite this, Jackie proposes taking the escape pod back to Earth. John vetoes this so that they can prioritize their survival, but Jackie is adamant that there are survivors. Richard points out that they don't have enough resources, and John agrees. When Jackie walks out, John asks Richard if the escape pod can reach Europa. Richard thinks it's futile, but John insists that they try. That night, John wakes up startled by an alarm. He runs out and sees Jackie about to leave on the escape pod. The pod ejection suddenly malfunctions, creating a vacuum into space. John and Jackie desperately cling for their lives so they don't get sucked out of the station. John throws a rope for Jackie and pulls her back to the ship before it collapses from the pressure. Jackie watches the escape pod float away from the station. After treating Jackie, Richard ominously asks John what he'll do once he's the only one left. 3 months pass, and they still haven't received a signal, and they're all surviving at 55% vitality. John finds Richard talking to himself in his room. John asks him where Jackie is, but Richard makes a strange comment about John and Jackie's estranged relationship. John eventually finds Jackie sedated in bed and watching a video of Jenny. She's filled with remorse for leaving her daughter. John later takes Jackie out of her room to plan their next move. Jackie proposes to blow up Station 2 to allocate their resources to Station 1, but there's a possibility of dying in the process. Faced with a difficult choice, John apologizes for his failings as a captain. He sees her hand trembling and advises her to get better so they can carry out her plan. When Jackie presents her idea to Richard, he quickly dismisses her by asking what their survival is for. To him, they're the last of their kind, and it's only going to get worse for them. John later confronts Richard about his nihilism. However, Richard claims that his wife is asking him to come home, and his odd behavior alarms John. After being startled awake by the alarm, John finds Jackie attempting to pull Richard back to the station with a mechanical arm. Richard escaped Pangaea while they were sleeping. John tries to talk sense into Richard, but he drowns him out with his fatalistic ramblings. As soon as Richard realizes how alone he is out in space, he starts to reach out for the mechanical arm. The machine breaks past its limit, leaving Richard to drift into the void. With their vital stats at 49%, Jackie presents John with 2 suicide pills. She tells him that she doesn't want to end up like Richard and that it's time to let go. Just as she puts the pill in his hand, Jackie miraculously sees a shuttle out the window. Jackie's hope is restored, while John is apprehensive. Jackie eventually convinces him to take the risk. 3 unconscious crew members are taken on board the Pangaea for medical evaluation. The shuttle captain, Diane Yers, recovers first and recounts what happened. According to her, they were on the International Space Station preparing for their voyage to Europa. The explosion damaged the station severely and forced them to head to Pangaea. They were able to survive the 3-month trip because their American crew members perished in the blast, which extended their resources. Now that they've arrived, Diane plans to repair their shuttle so that all of them can go to Europa. John asks her if she knows what caused the explosion, but she claims that she doesn't. At dinner, Diane introduces John and Jackie to her crew members, Dr. Thomas Dahan and Vincent Bernard. The station crew is given a tour of the station. John shares that they're planning on separating from Station 2 in a few days. Thomas asks how long they'll survive with limited food and oxygen, but John and Jackie can't answer him. Diane encourages them to be honest about the ship's status. Jackie then assures them that they'll survive long enough to reach Europa if they ration. Crew is relieved by this, so Diane proposes they celebrate. That night, they have a carefree party where John and Jackie rekindle their relationship. As the party winds down, John asks Diane about the possibility of people surviving the explosion. Diane is sure that no one survived. With that, John figures that Diane does know what happened. Jackie heads back to her quarters, where she throws out the syringes from her table and later admires a picture of her daughter. She then grabs her tablet and calculates how long they can last with their resources. It calculates that life support can sustain them for only 1 month. Jackie is in disbelief that she had grossly overestimated their chances. That night, Jackie hatches a plan. She passes by John, who seems heavily concerned over his conversation with Diane. Jackie eventually sneaks into the shuttle to inspect its control room. The next day, John learns about their life support calculations and demands an explanation from Jackie. She admits that they'll die in a month even if they ration. Since it's impossible to go to Europa, John realizes that Jackie might use the shuttle to go back to Earth. He rejects her plan, but Jackie insists that her daughter might still be alive. Furious, John calls Diane and forces her to tell Jackie what she told him last night. Diane recalls that when she was conducting her training, she saw Earth erupt and implode into pieces. Houston's last message to her was, "Don't return. Go to Europa." It dawns on Jackie that she'll never see her daughter again. John sits by her side to console her. Soon after, the station crew secretly views Pangaea's life support data. They can't believe they've been lied to. At dinner, Vincent's inappropriate comments about the dead being lucky quickly turn into a tense argument with John and Jackie. He confronts them both about their lie, but Diane reprimands him. As soon as Vincent and Thomas walk out, Diane asks to talk to John alone. In the hallway, Jackie overhears Vincent conspiring with Thomas. Diane reveals to John that she knew they were keeping something from them. John admits that their calculations were inaccurate, but they weren't lying. Diane asks if there's still any hope for them, but John doesn't answer her. Diane is disappointed that they were so close to reaching Europa. Later at their quarters, John assures Jackie that Diane understands their situation even though Jackie is still worried about Vincent. At the station crew's quarters, Thomas tries to pacify Vincent. Diane arrives and sees Vincent pull out a knife to kill John and Jackie. Thomas pleads for him not to do it again, so Diane suspects that Vincent killed their American crew members. Vincent admits that he did it so he could save them. Despite her anger, Diane embraces Vincent to calm him down. Vincent quickly betrays Diane by choking her to death. Vincent and Thomas later corner John and Jackie at the lounge. Vincent demands that Jackie tell him how long two people can survive on the ship, but Jackie refuses. John asks where Diane is, but Vincent doesn't answer. Jackie calls Diane on the speakers, but she doesn't respond. John and Jackie find Diane's body in the quarters. John immediately orders the men to leave his ship, but Vincent refuses. By killing them both, Vincent and Thomas will have enough time on the Pangaea to fix their shuttle and escape. Thomas pulls out a knife, so John and Jackie spring into action to defend themselves. During the altercation, John gets stabbed in the stomach. When Vincent escapes, John directs Jackie to start the separation. Jackie sets out to reboot the system and open the gas tank. Thomas goes after her, but John chases him. Just then, Vincent shows up, ready to fight. John goes after him, but Vincent catches him with a blow to the head. Meanwhile, Jackie is attacked by Thomas. He hesitates to kill her, which gives Jackie an opening to grab a pipe and bash Thomas over the head. Jackie eventually finds John, but a locked door separates them. The system announces that the reboot has been interrupted. Jackie urges John to stop Vincent because he doesn't know what he's doing. When John arrives at the control room, Vincent is about to access the heating system. John threatens that everyone will die if he doesn't stop, but Vincent still thinks he's lying. John calls Jackie to alert her that Vincent will ignite the pilot. She warns Vincent that they didn't seal the vents, so the fire will spread all over the station and kill everyone. Vincent desperately calls out for Thomas. Jackie lies that Thomas is safe, as long as he stops what he's doing. After they assure Vincent that no one's going to kill him, he mumbles that he's only trying to save his crew and walks away from the computer. John takes over and opens the door that's detaining Jackie. She then makes her way to the controls while John closes the vents and shuts down temperature control. Suddenly, Vincent tackles John to the ground. As they jostle to get the knife, John alerts Jackie that Vincent will blow the station. Jackie goes back to seal the bridge. John warns her that she'll be trapped in Station 2 if the bridge blows up. Just then, Vincent kicks John in the head and incapacitates him. While Jackie heads to Station 2, Vincent activates the heating system. Jackie is locked out of the pilot and doesn't make it in time. Vincent and John brace for impact. To their surprise, the pilot doesn't ignite. Jackie assumes they're safe, so she instructs John to shut down the heating system and throw Vincent off the ship. Suddenly, Jackie sees the bridge catch fire. John asks her if she can get to him, but Jackie is trapped. He instructs her to get to Station 2 and runs out, leaving Vincent to realize what he's done. The bridge finally explodes, thus separating the two stations. John makes his way through the wreckage and desperately calls Jackie through the intercom. Suddenly, Vincent staggers behind him, covered in blood. John quickly closes the door between them and activates the decompression system. Vincent leaves a bloody handprint on the door window before he's forcefully ejected from the ship. Now alone, John remembers Richard asking him what he'd do when he's the last one left. Just then, John hears Jackie through the intercom. She locked herself in the pantry. John tells her he's too far to reach Station 2, so she suggests using the shuttle. Just as he's starting the shuttle, the ignition board sparks up. Jackie pleads for John to get her. He asks her to calm down and swears that he'll find her. Just as she's instructing him to fix the ignition board, John loses contact with Jackie. Later, John reprograms the system to scan for Station 2. He sends out another distress message with instructions for Jackie, but she doesn't respond. Despite this, he continues to promise that he's coming to get her. Years later, Station 1 is now in ruins. John is worn out from desperation and isolation. He's managed to survive so far with limited oxygen and supplement injections. All the while, he speaks to a photo of Jackie and their crew. John manages to fix the ignition board on the control panel, just as the scanner finally locates Station 2. As John prepares to find Jackie, he starts to understand why she still believes even when there's no hope. Before leaving Station 1, John logs in the date as June 9, 2198. It marks his 3022nd day as the captain of Pangaea. John is dragging supply bags to the control room when the doors suddenly malfunction. John looks back and sees an apparition of a wounded Jackie. It tries to convince him to let go of her and stay. He keeps his calm and finds the strength to ignore it. The apparition eventually disappears, and the doors open. After loading the supplies, John sees the apparitions of Lisa, Richard, and Jackie for the last time. He starts up the shuttle and makes the long trip to Station 2. Once there, John makes his way to the pantry, where Jackie is disheveled and slumped in the corner. When she wakes up, John sheds tears of joy. She's alive, just as he'd hoped. Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications. And leave a like, it really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching.